Hey everyone. I know it's been a while, but welcome back to a new video. I am doing another video that's a little bit different than what I usually do. As you all know, I'm not really doing stories anymore, so I'm having to diversify and delve into other things. Seeing as how it's, Thanksgiving, I decided to take this as an opportunity to cover the darkness of Thanksgiving. The dark history of Thanksgiving, if you will. There's a lot of things buried in the past that a lot of us don't know, and I'm going to unveil all of those things within this video. Well, all those things related to Thanksgiving. So I hope you all enjoy this video. Once again, this is very different than what I usually do, but I still hope you guys, like it. I also want to add that I know this video is incredibly short compared to what I usually do. This is probably the shortest video I've ever uploaded, on my channel, which is not something I'm too happy about, but it is what it is. So, despite this being a short video and being different than what I usually do, I hope you enjoy it, and if you do, please comment and let me know, and if you don't, well, still let me know. Anyways, I hope you all enjoy, and let's get into the video. But remember, stay hungry. Thanksgiving, a time where most of us spend time with our families and loved ones eating delicious food and saying what we're thankful for. I love Thanksgiving. And I'm sure you do too, right? Who doesn't like spending a day with family and eating a ton of food? But what many of you probably don't know is there is an untold truth about Thanksgiving. The dark history of the holiday that most of us know as something positive, but in reality started off as the complete opposite. As children, we're usually taught that the tradition dates back to times of the Pilgrims, English religious dissenters who helped to establish the Plymouth colony in the present-day Massachusetts in 1620. As the story goes, friendly local Native Americans taught the struggling colonists how to survive in the New World. Then everyone got together to celebrate with a feast in 1621. The attendees included at least 90 men from the Wampanoag tribe and the 50 or so surviving Mayflower passengers, according to Time. The bash lasted 3 days and featured a menu consisting of deer, fowl, and corn, according to the Smithsonian Magazine. In reality, Thanksgiving feasts predate Plymouth. You can even find a number of localities that have fought to claim the first Thanksgiving for themselves. Settlers in Berkeley Hundred in Virginia decided to celebrate their arrival with an annual Thanksgiving back in 1619, according to the Virginia Pilot. Although the Washingtonian reported that the meal was probably little more than some oysters and ham thrown together. However, decades before then, Spanish settlers and members of the Seloi tribe broke bread with salted pork, garbanzo beans, and a mass in 1565 Florida, according to the National Park Service. In today's time, our modern definition of Thanksgiving revolves around eating turkey, but in past centuries it was more of an occasion for religious observance. The storied 1621 Plymouth festivities live on in popular memory, but the Pilgrims themselves would have likely considered their sober 1623 day of prayer the first real Thanksgiving, according to the blog of the History of Massachusetts. Others have pinpointed 1637 as the true origin of Thanksgiving, owing to the fact that Massachusetts colony governor John Withrop declared the day of Thanksgiving to celebrate colonial soldiers who had just slaughtered 700 Pequot men, women, and children in what is now called Mystic, Connecticut. Regardless though, the popular story of the initial harvest festival is what has continued to live on, thanks to the late Abraham Lincoln. The enduring holiday and celebration has almost entirely wiped the memory of what really happened between the Wampanoag and the English a whole generation later. Massasoit, the sachem or paramount chief of the Wampanoag, proved to be a crucial ally to the English settlers in the years following the establishment of Plymouth. He arranged an exclusive trade agreement with the newcomers and allied with them against the French and other local tribes, such as the Narragansetts in Massachusetts. However, over time, the alliance became strained. Thousands of English colonists swarmed into the region throughout the 17th century. According to historic contact, Indian people and colonists in today's northeastern United States Authorities in Plymouth began asserting control over most aspects of Wampanoag life as settlers increasingly ate up more land. The Gilder Lehrman Institute of American History estimated disease had already reduced the Native American population in New England by as much as 90% from 1616 to 1619, and indigenous people continued to die from what the colonists called Indian fever. By the time Massasoit's son Metacomet, known to the English as King Philip, inherited leadership, relations had become strained. King Philip's War was ignited when several of Metacomet's men were executed for the murder of Punkapoag interpreter and Christian convert John Sassamon. Wampanoag warriors responded by embarking on a series of raids, and the New England Confederation of Colonies declared war in 1675. The initial neutral colony of Rhode Island in the Providence Plantations was ultimately dragged into the fighting, as were other nearby tribes like the Narragansetts. The war was filled with bloodshed and was devastating. Springfield, Massachusetts was burned to the ground. The Wampanoag abducted colonists for ransom. English forces had attacked the Narragansetts on a bitter frozen swamp for harboring fleeing Wampanoag. 600 Narragansetts were murdered and the tribe's winter stores were ruined, according to Atlas Obscura. Colonists in far-flung settlements moved to more fortified areas while the Wampanoag and the allied tribes were forced to leave their villages. The colonists ultimately allied themselves with several tribes such as the Mohegans and Pequots, despite initial reluctance from the Plymouth leadership. Meanwhile, Metacomet was dealt with a shocking blow when he crossed over into New York to recruit new allies. Instead, he was rebuffed and attacked by Mohawks. Upon his return to his ancestral home at Mount Hope, he was shot and killed in a final battle. The son of the man who had sustained and celebrated with the Plymouth colony was then beheaded and his body dismembered. His remaining allies were then murdered or sold into slavery in the West Indies. The colonists impaled King Philip's head on a spike and placed it on display in Plymouth for 25 years. In an article published in the Historical Journal of Massachusetts, Montclair State University professor Robert E. Cray Jr. said the war's complete death toll could have been as high as 30% of the English population and half of the Native Americans in New England. This war was just one of a series of brutal but dimly remembered early colonial wars between Native Americans and colonists that occurred in New England, New York, and Virginia. Popular memory has largely clung to the innocuous image of a harvest celebration, while ignoring the deadly forces that would ultimately drive apart the descendants of the guests of that very feast. Modern-day Thanksgiving may be a celebration of people coming together, but that's not the entire story when it comes to the history of that day. Well, the dark history, if you will. I'd like to show some respect for all of the fallen warriors of the past that took part in molding this holiday for what it is today. It's truly devastating how many lives were lost in this war. So, while you're celebrating this day of feasting with your loved ones and what you're all thankful for, remember, not everything starts off on a happy note. But I hope you all have a wonderful Thanksgiving and get a chance to eat a lot of good food with your families. Before we close this video out, I want to give a special thank you to all of my current patrons. So I want to start off and give a little vocal shout out to my $5 and up patrons. Ulisa, Babe Lincoln, Beth A, Kate E, Carrie B, Celeste S, Courtney T, Ellie S, Howard R, Jacqueline W, Jazzy G, Jen M, Catherine M, Carrie F, Matthew B, Elena C, Steffi, Tammy S, and Terry H, as well as my $3 patrons featured on screen. Once again, thank you to all of my patrons that are currently, patrons to my Patreon, and if any of you would like to become a patron and get a shout out in my videos, be sure to head over to patreon.com/canny. I really appreciate the support more than you know. I hope you all enjoyed this video. I know it's different than what I usually do, and I'm going to continue to try to diversify my channel. So if you enjoyed this video, give me some feedback in the comments section as well as leave a like on the video. And if you didn't, tell me why you didn't like it. I still want to know your feedback regardless. All that being said though, I hope you all have a good Thanksgiving. And remember to always stay hungry. Have a good one, everyone.